Well, guess what, good folks? Welcome to NFL Live. It's your boy RC, and I'm hosting today. Laura's not here, Hannah's not here, but it's an hour-long show, and I'm here with Mina Kimes, and at some point, we'll get Tim Hasselback with us. Mina, what's happening? Now, guys, yesterday was a huge Christmas day, and everything starts in Detroit, with Detroit playing the Minnesota Vikings. It's a huge game, guys. Jared Goff and the Lions are visiting the Vikings here for Christmas Day. They got the All Blacks on, the Minnesota Vikings in the icy whites. And here's Byron Murphy with a huge pick. It was pressure by Van Ginkel. Jared Goff had a tough day throughout. Now there's 8 minutes left in the third quarter. It's tied at 7. Goff is looking for Isaac Tesla. Oh, wait, no, here's Harrison Smith, a cover 2 pick. Jared Goff shows his frustration. Under 4 minutes to go. The Vikings lead 13-10 now. Jordan Addison gets the handoff. I'm all screwed up here. Here we go. We get a sack by Van Ginkel. The ball is out. Jared Goff having a tough day the entire time. Dan Campbell takes off the glasses. He's frustrated dealing with all that's going on. And the Minnesota Vikings were struggling the entire day on offense. And here is Jordan Addison after a touchback, a 65-yard carry, and watch him dive into the end zone, getting the football over the pylon. The Detroit Lions here now trying to mount a comeback, down 23-10. Goff takes the snap, he fumbles it. Van Ginkel again rolls over Jared Goff. Jared Goff having a miserable day. The Detroit Lions now eliminated from contention in the NFC. Now we're going to hear from Dan Campbell.
Losing is very disappointing. Losing. I hate losing. They hate losing. We do. But look, I mean, some of these things that come up, the effort's there. It's just, boy, we are not, we're just a little off here, and it's costing us significantly, and we just, there again, too many turnovers. That's what really got us, man. Just couldn't overcome it.
The Lions finished with 6 turnovers and no takeaways in yesterday's loss. That's the most turnovers in any game since the 2015 season. In fact, Detroit only committed 8 turnovers in their first 15 games this entire season. Mina, Detroit has been struggling in a major way. In your opinion, what's been behind this late season fall for the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, it's funny because we're talking about the late season, right? And there were periods where the offense did look fine this year. But ultimately, I think the main problem is the same one we saw week 1 against the Green Bay Packers, and that's the offensive line. And that's not to make excuses for the rest of the team. Obviously, Jared didn't play well. He was really rattled by Brian Flores' blitzes that have rattled a lot of quarterbacks this year. Jahmyr Gibbs was stuffed behind the line of scrimmage more often than he had successful runs. Even Amon-Ra St. Brown had a drop, and he's had a few of those late, which is odd to see. But to me, this was all centered around the offensive line. And there's injuries. Taylor Decker didn't play. He's had an up and down year. You have a lot of backups. You've got youth on the interior. But moving forward, I think for Detroit, and they do have a decent amount of cap space this offseason, fixing the offensive line, maybe even overcommitting to it financially has to be a priority because Jared Goff is a quarterback who's rattled by pressure, who struggles under pressure. It doesn't mean you can't win big games with him. It doesn't mean you can't get to a Super Bowl with him. But he's not the kind of quarterback who's going to go above and beyond with faulty pass protection. And this season, to me, was a case study in exactly that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've talked this entire season about the way pressure has affected Jared Goff. And we thought early on it was all about the interior pressure. But here we're going to see versus the Minnesota Vikings, which was a team under Ben Johnson that they handled the pressure well against Brian Flores' defense. It didn't happen that way yesterday. Now we're going to see the Byron Murphy interception, and they're going to start out in what looks like a cover 3 look. But there's also a ton of people who are lined up in the line of scrimmage that you're going to get pressure from. Now, we're going to see Van Ginkel, who eventually gets the pressure on Jared Goff to force the errant throw. What's also going to happen is it's going to seem like an all-out blitz because they're going to add Cashman at the initial onset of the snap. But then he will float out here to the middle, and they'll go here, and here, which actually ends up in a cover 0 with a cover 3 sort of look. Now, as we watch it play out here, you're going to see Cashman get outside, and he's going to now be the middle dropper who would have taken the tight end who is blocking right here had he released late. And as Van Ginkel gets in and starts to put pressure on Jared Goff, he's going to throw the football up because it looks like he has space to Tesla here running down the field, even though Byron Murphy is essentially in a cover 0 where he's going to have his eyes right to Tesla. Now, as the play plays out, he floats the football up in the air. Byron Murphy makes an easy pick on 3rd and 18. Maybe they were thinking about it essentially like a punt. Now, this is a very simple cover 2 defense. We're going to go cover 2 here. We're going to go cloud here as they're going to release late to get someone to the flat. Up top, we're going to have Ward in 2, and also to the bottom, we're going to have Harrison Smith. What Harrison Smith is going to do, he's going to open up, which is going to make Jared Goff feel like he's going to have an opportunity to hit Amon-Ra St. Brown, who's going to be getting up the field right here to run an inside dig. Watch the play fake. The play fake gets the linebacker to move up into the line of scrimmage, so he knows that he has space right here behind Brian Cashman. And now we're going to locate Harrison Smith, who is open to Jared Goff. Jared Goff knows he's going to have space to the middle of the field based on that presence. Watch as he lets the football go. We're going to see Harrison Smith understand right now I have to cut him off and beat Amon-Ra St. Brown to the ball. These were the sort of defenses that we saw all day from Brian Flores. They were always confusing Jared Goff, making him throw the ball before he was ready to complete these passes, Mina.
Man, can I just say something? Brian Flores really should get coaches about head coaching calls, about head coaching jobs, because holy smokes. He's made a lot of really good offenses look really bad. I think about that stretch where they were losing games against like Chicago, Green Bay, Seattle, but the defense was not the reason. The defense, in fact, is 6th in DVOA, 5th in yards per play, a top 10 in EPA per play. Remarkable, especially when you look at the secondary and you don't see, they don't have like a true number 1 corner in my mind. And that's, I think, Ryan, is something very interesting for Minnesota next year. This was a playoff caliber defense. The offense, of course, had their ups and downs, and then they've got some difficult decisions to make this offseason in terms of how they approach the quarterback position. But when they sit back and look at this entire season, the defense wasn't the problem. The defense, in fact, was an unbelievable strength of theirs to the very end of the year. I mean,
that was the question coming into the season, was whether or not you had a quarterback at J.J. McCarthy who could continue some of the things we saw from Sam Darnold with the defense that was playing at a championship level. And when you think about the Lions on the other side of this, though, they were no longer hunting. They were no longer the hunter. They became the hunted. And they now find themselves sitting outside of the playoff hunt.